77th session of the Senate in the second regular session of the 19th Congress is hereby called to order. Chair would like to recognize the Honorable Senator Lauren Legarda for the Chamber's prayer. Ma'am, you are recognized.
Mic test. Heavenly Father, we praise you, we adore you, we worship. Without you, we are nothing. We thank you for this wonderful day that you have granted us, and we thank you for the good health each and every one of us is blessed with. We ask forgiveness for the things we have done and those we have failed to do, for we are only human. Today we seek wisdom and discernment so that we may be able to serve our mandate. Grant us wisdom, grant us clarity, but above all, grant us humility and kindness. Kindness that pierces through. Lord, make us your instruments for fulfilling our purpose here on earth. Grant us wisdom, grant us clarity, but above all, grant us humility and kindness. Kindness that pierces through all evil. Kindness that shines over darkness. Kindness that fills our hearts full. We ask this in the name of our Jesus Christ. Amen.
Secretary, may please call the roll.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senator Angara, Senator Binay, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Ontiveros, Senator Lapid, Senator Legarda, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pimentel, Senator Poe, Senator Revilla, Senator Tolentino, Senator Tulfo, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Cynthia, Senator Villar Mark, Senator Zubiri, the Senate President.
With 23 senators physically present, the chair hereby declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we defer with approval of the journal of the 76th session, Tuesday, May 21st, 2024, at a later hour, Mr. President.
There is a motion. Hearing none, same is approved.
Mr. President, before we proceed with the item scheduled on third reading, Mr. President, and with the permission of the body, I move that we proceed with the Senate President's designation of the Senate conferees to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill 2593 and House Bill 9648, both pertaining to the new Government Procurement Act. I so move, Mr. President.
There is a motion. Hearing none, same is hereby approved. Upon prior consultation, Chair hereby designates as members of the Senate panel of the Bicameral Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill number 2593 and House Bill number 9648 on the new Government Procurement Act the following: Senator Sani Angara as chairperson, Senator Nancy Binay, Senator Lauren Legarda, Senator Joel Villanueva, and Senator Risa Ontiveros on the part of the minority. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, again with the permission of the body, I move that we proceed to the Senate President's designation of the Senate conferees to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill 2528 and House Bill 4122, both pertaining to the bills amending and adding new sections of the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997 or the VAT on digital transactions. I so move, Mr. President.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, same is approved. Upon prior consultation and authority given by the minority, the chair hereby designates the following members as members of the Senate conferees to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of Senate Bill number 2528 and House Bill number 4122 as follows: Senator Win Gatchalian as chairperson, Senator Lauren Legarda, Senator Pia Cayetano, and Senator Angara as members, and on the part of the minority, Senator Coco Pimentel. So ordered.
Mr. President, before we vote on the bills scheduled today on third reading, this representation would like to acknowledge several guests in the gallery Mr. President, and with your permission and the permission of the body, guests of Senator Risa Ontiveros, Kidapawan Bishop Jose Colin Bagaforo of Caritas Philippines, Father Albert Delvo of the Catholic Educational Association of the Philippines, former Secretary Teresita Quintos Deles, together with dozens of religious and civil society leaders under the Simbahan at Comunidad Laban sa Chacha and No to Chacha Network. And Justice Antonio Carpio is likewise present, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm being distracted by the minority. I have a list here, Mr. President. Former Congressman Mary is likewise here. Mr. President, guest of Senator Grace Poe, Mr. Rahul Segal, Director International Advocacy Soy Dog Foundation International, Faisal Jalil, Manager International Advocacy, Attorney Heidi Marquez Kagiwa, President Animal Kingdom Foundation, Tony Inting Campaigns, Manager Animal Kingdom Foundation, and Dr. Ray Del Napoles, Lead Consultant of the Animal Health and Disaster Response. Guests of Senator Bato de la Rosa, 24 student leaders of Cor Jesu College, Digos City, headed by June Ray De Quina and Simeon Batulanon, Mr. President. And guests of Senator Lauren Ligarda from the National Museum, Deputy Director General Jorel Ligaspi, Ms. Marites Tauro of the National Museum, Dr. Emmanuel Calairo, may kababayan from Cavite of the National Historical Commission of the Philippines, former Chairman Edwin Ginto of the Bacoor Tourism Head, Dr. Bacoor Historical Society, the National Commission for Culture and Arts, Deputy Executive General Marichu Trillano. Mr. President, with the consent of the body.
Before that, Majority Leader, I also saw Congressman Nery Colmenares. If that is him, malabo ng konti yung mata ko. Malugod kong binabati ang pagdalo ng ating mga bisita, pinangalanan man o hindi, sa inyong pagdalo dito sa aming sesyon at
the bills are indeed non-compliant with the technical requirements such as road length, land area, population, etc. And that was the reason behind, Mr. President, this representation's position during that time not to go through with the third reading of certain measures. In fact, if you would recall, during that time, the local bills of Bacoor, local bills from Bataan were actually approved. But several bills were put on hold, Mr. President. And so, may I just ask, Mr. President, as we are to vote now on third reading, these 11 local bills, we wanted to find out if we were able to now get the approval or the nod or the criteria being asked of these measures to comply while we are now about to vote on these particular measures, Mr. President.
Majority Leader may respond.
Mr. President, since these are local bills and pursuant to the pertinent provision of the Constitution, the origination clause. Mr. President, this representation would hold that most of the bills were distributed and vetted not just by the appropriate Senate committee but even by our Secretariat, that it has complied indeed with the several requirements enunciated by the good gentleman from Bulacan, the length, the applicable district engineering office, as well as the realistic requirements of whether there is really a need to create a district engineering district in an appropriate legislative district. Mr. President, most of the bills here would be a mirror image of some newly created legislative districts, and it has been the administrative dicta that in every legislative district there should be an appropriate district engineering district, Mr. President. So in answer to the query of the good gentleman from Bulacan, I think we have, the bills have complied thoroughly with the requirements, and the good sponsor here, the chairman of the Committee on Public Works, Senator Ramon Bong Revilla, did his work in finalizing and thoroughly scrutinizing the measures under consideration for third reading, Mr. President.
Thank you, Majority Leader, Mr. President. But may I also find out from the body if there were changes from the time we had that all-members caucus? Because I also feel that it is important to note that during the all-members caucus, we agreed that this measure should comply. And so perhaps the more important question on the floor, Mr. President, is whether or not all these 11 local bills complied with the requirements, technical requirements such as road length, land area, population, etc., which we all agreed upon, Mr. President, during the all caucus. I would just like to put that on record, because if they are, if these local bills complied already, Mr. President, I have no problem voting for it. And that's the reason why I am standing here today, because if they did not comply, then I will not vote for it, Mr. President.
With the permission of the Majority Leader, the presumption, good gentleman from the Bulacan, is that it is, because it went through the regular procedure established by the good former chairman of the Committee on Rules, wherein, as I remember, we made sure that all bills will go through the Secretariat, the Deputy Secretary General in particular, for bills, to review their compliance and to make sure that it is not in conflict with any provision of the law. And we did not change anything with respect to that. Now, as to the assertion of the gentleman that there was a majority caucus to that effect, at the end of the day, Mr. President, Your Honor, this on third reading, and each individual member will be casting his or her individual vote in favor or against the measure, given that this will be a roll call vote. And thirdly, whatever concerns the Minority Leader had, at the end of the day, it was approved on second reading during the good gentleman's watch, and my assumption is the Minority Leader allowed it because it complied with the requirements imposed by law. So I hope the good gentleman can be furnished with a copy. I think it's on the table or sent through email, in order to adjudge if he's satisfied with the same and will vote for or against. I hope the gentleman is satisfied, Mr.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I would like to be satisfied, Mr. President, with the answers and explanation being given to us by the Majority Leader and the Senate President. I just wanted to put on record once again, Mr. President, hindi nga po compliant sila after mapasa natin yung second reading, kaya po doon sa caucus, sabi po, hindi natin ipapasa. So ang tanong ko lang naman po, kung nag-comply na po ba, nagbago na po ba? Because I'm sure when we had that meeting, we informed the stakeholders, especially the local authors, the congresspersons, that we indeed wanted them to comply with the requirements of the DPWH. The only reason, Mr. President, why I'm standing here today is so that I will be able to vote on the right path, Mr. President, na hindi magagalit ang ating mga kongresista, hindi rin magagalit ang ating ehekutibo. Mr. President, let me point out that in the President's veto message, nito pong nakaraang March, may mga local bills po na vinito ng Pangulo. At doon po sa veto message ng ating Pangulo, naka-highlight po doon, Mr. President, and I quote, "The importance of faithful compliance with the functional criteria and technical requirements should not be wholly disregarded." I just want to put that on record and caution our members. And if there is, Mr. President, indeed compliance on the part of these local bills, then I would vote for it. Thank you very much, especially
Thank
for
you.
understanding, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Villanueva. According to the Secretariat, they are in compliance. And for the information of the body and our invited guests as well, we did not change anyone from the officers of the Senate, from the Secretary, from the Deputy Secretary, which we cannot, the Sergeant at Arms, we did not change anything. So it's the same procedures during the term of the good gentleman from Bulacan when he was chairman of the Rules Committee that we are adopting, since it was a good system to follow too.
Yes.
Senate President Zubiri is
Yes, with the
recognized.
permission of the Majority Floor Leader. Yes, Senate President. I just want to find out, I'm not going to delay the proceedings, I just want to find out, point of inquiry, what were the recent local bills that were vetoed by the President? Maybe be informed by the Majority Leader. Maybe you can ask for a minute suspension just to ask. So just be clarified. Are there also creations of districts, engineering districts? Maybe find out, please.
Yes.
For the
before suspending, Chair would like to place on record my view that I think we are seeing a healthy system of checks and balances whether there's a veto or not. If at all that it's the first time some measures are being vetoed, then that means that Congress is independent of the executive. Na hindi nag-uusap, hindi nagkukonsyabahan, kaya kami nabivito eh. Sa totoo lang, sa mahabang panahon, alam niya ng mga matagal na sa Senado, walang nabivito na measure. Kasi masipag tumutok sa mga panukalang batas ang PLLO at bago pa mapasa, na ibibigay na yung pahayag at opinion ng executive bago pa man maging third reading. Ngayon, na may mga batas na panukalang batas na nabivito, patunay na hindi nadidiktahan ng ehekutibo ang Kamara at ang Kamara may sariling panindigan at pananaw kung ano yung mga dapat maging batas. Hindi lang sumasang-ayon ang ehekutibo kaya binivito niya. May I get the list, ma'am?
I have here with me, Mr. President, if I may. I can share it with the body, Mr. President. HB number 1028, an act converting the Sawang Macalas Road in the municipality of Romblon, province of Romblon, into a national road and appropriating funds therefore. HB number 1029, an act converting the road stretching from Barangay Tugis, municipality of Odyongan to Barangay Tugdan, municipality of Alcantara, all in the province of Romblon into a national road and appropriating funds therefore. HB number 1030, an act converting the road stretching from Sitio Bolinganay, Barangay Panique, municipality of Odjongan to Sitio Kabaliwan, Barangay Batchawan, municipality of San Agustin in the province of Romblon. HB number 1031, an act converting the Sablayan Agpanabat Bagakay Road, a section of the Romblon Circumferential Road, into a national road and appropriating funds therefore. Mr. President, may I just put on record, I agree with the veto message of the President when it mentioned that these measures did not comply with the functional criteria and technical requirements. I feel bad that I vote for it and I didn't get the chance to check on whether or not they complied. And that is why in the all members caucus last time, we made mention that we will comply this time and make sure that these local bills that we're going to tackle and put on third reading have actually complied with the requirements. So that's all I'm saying, Mr. President. And again, I am here to make sure that my vote will matter and that I would do my best in ensuring that I know everything and the information is available, unlike before, Mr. President. Thank you, Mr. President.
Prior to recognizing the minority floor leader, I assured the good gentleman from Bulacan that None of the bills we will be approving on third reading pertain to road conversion.
If I may add, yes, Mr.
Not a single one. Senate, the minority
There
floor leader
there is a
recognized.
request to suspend, but before we suspend, should the chair grant it, so that the period of suspension will be productive, can I also ask that during the period of suspension, can we find out ano ba talaga, compliant or non-compliant? Because there's a claim na may non-compliant, the Senate President says they are all compliant, informed by the Secretariat. So may we know the real factual status, no? Because if I remember correctly, meron nga mga technical requirements na provided by the DPWH na hindi ata na-comply. But ang justification on, since this is action of Congress, we can choose to create and not comply. But before Congress approves, may member na nagtatanong which are non-compliant with the technical requirements. So let's make the period of suspension productive, Mr. President, by finding out.
To clarify, Minority Leader, if I get it correctly as well, mention was made about compliance with requirements, how long the road is, how wide the road is, and the veto of the President. All of these, Minority Floor Leader, in my response to the gentleman from Bulacan, pertain to conversion of roads. We are not approving any conversion of roads in the bills we will be approving on third reading. We are approving mostly creation of
Yes, meron din po kasing, Mr. President, meron din kasing technical requirements dyan eh. So, yun lang yung tanong. May yun yung tanong kasi there is a claim na can we just find out during the period of suspension? Anyway, isususpend yun rin po yata. So when
before suspending, let me just say this on the record. We approved this on second reading. It went through the committee. The committee secretary, and this is a new creation, under the Rules Committee of then Majority Floor Leader Joel Villanueva, that all bills, even if approved by the committee, have to pass through the metal, which is a good system of the committee through the bills and index. And it did pass through the metal, not only in the committee, not only in the review of the bills and index, but also by the body on second reading. This is the third time we will be asking if at all those questions. I will suspend the session for that, but kindly just note the process that it has gone through already. Session suspended.
Mr. President.
No, that's the reason why we had the caucus eh.
Mr. President, before I move for a suspension, Mr. President, I still maintain my submission that no amount of administrative circular, administrative order emanating from an executive agency can curtail the plenary powers of the Congress, Mr. President. And number two, even if executive orders were issued, they cannot be given retroactive effect to supplant the powers of Congress. My submission should be placed on the records, Mr. President. Mr. President, I move for a
Thank
minute
you, Mr.
suspension.
President. May I just
Julie,
put on record, Mr. President, that I totally agree with the 2 points raised by the majority leader. I totally agree and I support his position, Mr. President. Thank you.
Duly noted the remarks of both gentlemen, but at the end of the day, it is the plenary of the Senate that is absolute and has supreme power to decide on these matters, and we have so decided already. Senator Cayetano, gentleman from the gig, you may proceed, sir.
Just to agree with the Senate President and to amend the proposal of the former Senate President that we withhold action until they comply or they justify. Because, Mr. President, there are 2 kinds of rules. Policy, which we can override with legislation, and then, for example, if it violates the Constitution, we cannot override that. So I'll give you an example. When we were young congressmen, Senator Subiri, yourself, and me, I think you could not pass a law creating a school unless it's 5,000 square meters lot area available. But in Metro Manila, there were a lot of needs for schools na wala ng 5,000 square. So pinayagan through law, despite the objection of DepEd. So DepEd objected as to a technicality na 3,000 square lang yan, 4,000. But the congressman justified it that, no, we will build 5 stories, 10 stories. So just an example that is clear here. Batanes has a engineering district. If Batanes was applying now, it would not qualify sa dami ng roads. But because it was able to justify na malayo kami, and just to clarify, I think we're all in agreement now, but just to clarify that there are certain situations that the requirements of the committee itself or the House or the department, we are not disregarding it, but we are overruling it if we consciously do it that way. So we may either ask them to submit as is or consciously disregard it if there are justifying reasons, for as long as we're not violating the Constitution or other laws. Thank you, Mr. Senate
The
President.
remarks and observations of the good gentleman are well taken and duly noted.
Mr. President,
Majority Floor Leader.
to add one-liner to the comment of the good gentleman from Taguig, marami pong mga legislative districts na hinati dahil sa population. Natural po, lumiit yung karsada nila, umiksi. Baka hindi mag-qualify yung iba. Mr. President, with the consent of the body, Mr. President, I move that we proceed with the third reading of House Bill 7315. Printed copies of this bill was electronically distributed to the members of this August chamber on January 11, 2024 in compliance with the 3-day rule of the Constitution. With that, I move to consider on third reading House Bill 7315. This is the bill on the Tabayon National High School in Jose Abad Santos, Davao Occidental. I so move, Mr. President.
There is a motion. Hearing none, same is approved. Secretary General is directed to read the title of the measure for third reading.
An act separating the Jose Abad Santos National High School, Tabayon Extension, in Barangay Tabayon, Municipality of Jose Abad Santos, Province of Davao Occidental, from the Jose Abad Santos National High School, converting it into an independent national high school to be known as the Tabayon National High School and appropriating funds therefore.
Roll call vote.
Roll call vote. The Honorable Senator Angara, Senator Binay, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Ontiveros, Senator Lapid, Senator Legarda, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pimentel, Senator Poe, Senator Revilla, Senator Tolentino, Senator Tulfo, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Cynthia, Senator Villar Mark, Senator Zubiri. The Senate President. Yes. Angara, yes. Angara, yes. Angara, yes. Senator Angara, wala.
With 19 affirmative votes, 0 negative, 0 abstention, House Bill number 7315 is hereby approved on third and final reading.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move to consider on third reading House Bill number 7553. This is the bill on the District Engineering Office in the 2nd Legislative District of Davao del Norte. I so move, Mr. President.
There is a motion. Hearing none, same is approved. Secretary is directed to read the title of the measure.
An act creating a district engineering office in the 2nd Legislative District of the Province of Davao del Norte and appropriating funds therefore.
Proceed to roll call vote.
Roll call vote. The Honorable Senator Angara, Senator Binay, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Ontiveros, Senator Lapid, Senator Legarda, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pimentel, Senator Poe, Senator Revilla, Senator Tolentino,
Yes.
Senator Tulfo, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Cynthia, Senator Villar Mark, Senator Zubiri. The Senate President.
With 21 affirmative votes, 0 negative, 0 abstention, House Bill number 7553 is hereby approved on third reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
Session suspended.
Pedalo pa.
Mr. President, I withdraw my previous motion and I move that we continue with the approval of the several House bills. I move for the approval of House Bill 8133, an act creating a district engineering office in the 2nd Legislative District of Davao City and appropriating funds.
Roll call vote. The Honorable Senator Angara.
Hearing none, same is approved. Secretary is directed to read the title of the measure and to proceed with roll call vote thereafter.
An act creating a district engineering office in the 2nd Legislative District of Davao City and appropriating funds therefore. Roll call vote. The Honorable Senator Angara, Senator Binay, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Ontiveros, Senator Lapid, Senator Legarda, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pimentel, Senator Poe, Senator Revilla, Senator Tolentino, Senator Tulfo, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Cynthia, Senator Villar Mark, Senator Zubiri. The Senate President.
With 21 affirmative votes, 0 negative, 0 abstention, House Bill number 8133 is approved on third reading. Majority Floor Leader.
Mr. President, I move to consider on third reading House Bill 8399. This pertains to the bill on Sakbulan National High School in San Pablo, Zamboanga del Sur. I so move, Mr. President.
There is a motion. Hearing none, same is approved. Secretary is directed to read the title of the measure and to thereafter proceed to roll call vote.
An act separating the San Pablo National High School, Sakbulan Extension in Barangay Sakbulan, Municipality of San Pablo, Province of Zamboanga del Sur, from the San Pablo National High School, converting it into an independent national high school to be known as the Sakbulan National High School and appropriating funds therefore. Roll call vote. The Honorable Senator Angara, Senator Binay, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Ontiveros, Senator Lapid, Senator Ligarda, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pimentel, Senator Poe, Senator Revilla, Senator Tolentino,
Yes.
Senator Tulfo, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Cynthia, Senator Villar Mark, Senator Zubiri, the Senate President.
With 20 affirmative votes, 0 negative votes, 0 abstention, House Bill number 8399 is hereby approved on third reading. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, before we proceed with the reference of business, Mr. President, at this juncture and pursuant to Rule 10, Section 13, in relation to Section 18 of the Rules of the Senate, I now move that we proceed with electing the chairpersons of various standing committees of the Senate.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, same is approved.
Mr. President, I move that we elect the chairperson of the Committee on Economic Affairs, the Honorable Senator Mark Villar, Vice Senator Grace Poe.
Any objection? Hearing none, the Senator Villar is deemed elected to the position of Chairman, Committee on Economic Affairs.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President.
The gentleman from Valenzuela is recognized.
Mr. President, I wasn't able to vote on House Bill number 7315 as I was in my room, but let me allow me to spread into the records and manifest my vote of affirmation to this said bill.
The remarks of the gentleman is duly noted and made part of the records. Session suspended.
Mr. President, I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
Please proceed.
Bill on first reading, Senate Number 2686, an act to further strengthen the government system of records management and archives administration, establishing for the purpose the National Archives and Records Management Authority and for other purposes. Senator Legarda.
Refer to the Committees on Culture and the Arts, Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation, Ways and Means, and Finance.
Resolution, Senate Concurrent Resolution Number 18, providing for the adjournment of the second regular session of the 19th Congress of the Philippines, not later than 12 o'clock midnight, today, May 22, 2024. Senator Tolentino.
Rules.
Proposed Senate Resolution 1029, directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry into the major data breach that occurred in the database of the Philippine National Police, underscoring the vital importance of safeguarding sensitive information against increased cyber threats. Senator Marcos.
Committees on Science and Technology and Public Order and Dangerous Drugs.
1030, resolution declaring as read and approved the journal of the 7th session of the Senate. Senator Tolentino.
Rules.
1031, authorizing the production and distribution of 20 printed and 100 digital copies of the journal and the record of the Senate for the second regular session of the 19th Congress of the Philippines. Senator Tolentino.
Rules.
1032, directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry on the alleged human trafficking and involvement in scamming activities violating the Cybercrime Prevention Act of 2012 within Multinational Village in Parañaque City, with an end in view of crafting a legislation or policy recommendation as may be necessary. Senator Gatchalian.
Women, Children, Family Relations, and Gender Equality.
Additional reference of business, bills on first reading, Senate Number 2687, establishing the Philippine Geriatric Center under Department of Health and appropriating funds therefore. Senator Tulfo.
Committees on Civil Service, Government Reorganization, Committees on Health and Demography and Finance.
2688, an act increasing the salary schedule of civilian personnel in the government and for other purposes. Senator Tulfo.
Committees on Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation and Finance.
2689, an act repealing for the purpose Republic Act Number 11,590, otherwise known as an act taxing Philippine offshore gaming operations and for other purposes. Senator Gatchalian.
Ways and Means.
2691, requiring all graduating senior high school and college students to plant 2 trees each as a civic duty for environment protection and preservation and appropriating funds therefore. Senator Tulfo.
Committees on Environment, Natural Resources, and Climate Change, Basic Education, and Finance.
2692, upgrading the position of sanitation inspector to a higher salary grade and appropriating funds therefore. Senator Tulfo.
Committees on Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation, and Local Government.
2693, fully recognizing the services of social workers by ensuring competitive remuneration and compensation packages, appropriating funds therefore. Senator Tulfo.
Committees on Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation, Social Justice, Welfare and Rural Development, and Finance.
2694, upgrading the minimum salary grade level of nurses from salary grade 15 to 19, amending Section 32 of RA 9173, otherwise known as the Philippine Nursing Act of 2002. Senator Tulfo.
Committees on Civil Service, Government Reorganization, Professional Regulation, Health and Demography, and Finance.
2695, an act granting Philippine citizenship to Matthew Steves Westfall,
Rules.
Senators Angara and Poe.
Rules.
Resolutions. Proposed Senate Resolution 1033, directing the Senate Committee on Energy to conduct an inquiry on the persistent blackouts and power crisis in Cadiodocan, Romblon. Senator Tulfo.
Committee on Energy.
1034, directing the proper Senate committees to conduct an inquiry on government interventions to be implemented in mitigating the effects of the impending La Niña phenomenon in the country. Senator Binay.
Committees on Environment, Natural Resources, and Climate Change, National Defense and Security, Peace, Unification, and Reconciliation, and Finance.
1035, expressing the profound sympathy and sincere condolences of the Senate on the death of Apostle Arsenio T. Ferriol, founder of the Pentecostal Missionary Church of Christ, Fort Watch. Senator Villanueva.
Rules.
1036, commending Honorable Juan Miguel F. Zubiri for his excellent performance and outstanding leadership as Senate President during the first and second regular sessions of the 19th Congress of the Philippines. Senator Escudero.
Rules.
Committee reports. Committee Report 259, jointly by the Committees on Culture and the Arts, Finance, on Senate Number 2583, introduced by Senators Legarda and Binay, an act establishing the Aklan Piña Museum and Cultural Center in the municipality of Calibo, province of Aklan, its satellite centers, defining its purposes and appropriate funds therefore, recommending its approval without amendment, sponsor Senator Legarda.
To the calendar for ordinary business.
Committee Report 260 by the Committee on the Culture and the Arts on Senate Number 2690 with Senators Revilla and Legarda as authors. An act declaring August 1 of every year a special working holiday to be known as the Araw ng Paglalathala at Pagtatanyag ng Kasirinlan ng Pilipinas, recommending its approval in substitution of Senate Numbers 2635, taking into consideration House Number 7986, sponsor Senator Legarda.
Calendar for ordinary business.
261 by the Committee on Justice and Human Rights on House Number 10048, an act granting Philippine citizenship to Alexander Sergeyevich Korovin, recommending its approval without amendment, taking into consideration Senate Number 2461, sponsor Senator Tolentino.
Calendar for ordinary business. Yes, please proceed with the second additional reference business.
Second additional reference of business, messages from the House. Letter from the House informing the Senate that on 15 May 2024, it passed the following House bills in which it requests the concurrence of the Senate. House Number 10079, strengthening the practice of midwifery as a profession in the Philippines, providing funds therefore repealing for the purpose RA 2644, otherwise known as the Philippine Midwifery Law, and Republic Act Number 7932, otherwise known as the Philippine Midwifery Act of 1992.
Committees on Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation and Finance.
House Number 10084, an act granting Philippine citizenship to Won Suk Hyo.
Justice and Human Rights.
10085, an act granting Philippine citizenship to Stephen Decatur Haynes.
Justice and Human Rights.
10086, an act granting Philippine citizenship to Fai Sheikh.
Justice and Human Rights.
House Number 10158, an act creating the Manila Bay Aquatic Resources Management Council and appropriating funds therefore.
Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform and Finance.
10172, strengthening the National Housing Authority, extending its corporate term and rationalizing its programs to address the housing needs of underserved segments.
Committees on Urban Planning, Housing and Resettlement, Government Corporations and Public Enterprises, and Ways and Means.
10173, providing for the development of condominiums, amending for the purpose Republic Act Number 4726 as amended, otherwise known as the Condominium Act.
Committee on Urban Planning, Housing and Resettlement.
10178, allowing for electronic registration and voting overseas, further amending RA 9189 as amended by RA number 10590 and appropriating funds therefore.
Committees on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation and Finance.
House Number 10241, an act establishing in the municipality of Ramon Magsaysay, province of Zamboanga del Sur, a district hospital to be known as Ramon Magsaysay District Hospital and appropriating funds therefore.
Committees on Health and Demography and Finance.
10258, increasing the bed capacity to Amay Pakpak Medical Center in the city of Marawi, province of Lanao del Sur, from 400 to 800 beds, appropriating funds therefore.
Committees on Health and Demography and Finance.
10268, establishing an integrated school in Ciudad de Strike, Barangay Molino 1, city of Bacoor, province of Cavite, to be known as Ciudad de Strike Integrated School and appropriating funds therefore.
Committee on Basic Education and Finance.
10269, establishing a National Science and Technology High School in the city of Bacoor, province of Cavite, to be known as the Bacoor City National Science and Technology High School and appropriating funds therefore.
Basic Education and Finance.
10285, converting the Diplahan External Study Unit of the Western Mindanao State University, located in the municipality of Diplahan, province of Zamboanga, Sibugay, into a regular campus and appropriating funds therefore.
Committees on Higher Technical and Vocational Education and Finance.
And House Number 10242, granting Pampanga Rural Electric Service Cooperative, PRESCO, a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, own, manage, and maintain a distribution system for the conveyance of electric power to the end users in 34 barangays in the municipalities of Mexico, Arayat, Santa Ana, and Magalang, Pampanga.
Public Services.
Letter from the House informing the Senate that on 14 May 2024, it designated Representative Malapitan as conferee to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the Disagreeing Provisions, House Number 9713, institutionalizing a Philippine Self-Reliant Defense Posture Program and promoting the development of a national defense industry pursuant thereto, and Senate Number 2455, revitalizing and strengthening the Reliant Defense Posture Program and promoting the development of a national defense industry pursuant thereto and providing funds therefore.
Rules.
Letter from the House informing the Senate that on 14 May 2024, It designated Representative Asidre, Vice Representative Salo as conferee to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the Disagreeing Provisions of House Number 7325, an act instituting the Magna Carta of Filipino Seafarers, and Senate Number 2221, providing for the Magna Carta of Filipino Seafarers.
Rules.
Letter from the House informing the Senate that on 15 May 2024, it reconsidered the ratification of the Conference Committee report on the disagreeing provisions of House Number 7819 and Senate Number 2492, both entitled An Act Declaring the Maritime Zones under the Jurisdiction of the Republic of the Philippines.
Rules.
Letter from the House informing the Senate that on 15 May 2024, it designated Representatives Arenas, Tupas, Rodriguez, Gonzales II, Tanuaco III, Benitez, Dagook, and Gutierrez as conferees to the Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of House Number 7819 and Senate Number 2492, both entitled An Act Declaring the Maritime Zones under the Jurisdiction of the Republic of the Philippines.
Rules.
Letter from the House informing the Senate that on 15 May 2024, it designated Representatives Ferrer, Luistro, Acheron, Dimaporo, and Dagook as conferees to the Bicameral Conference Committee on the disagreeing provisions of House Number 8257 and Senate Number 2594.
Archives. Majority Leader.
Mr. President, our colleague, the gentleman from Nueva Ecija, the Honorable Senator Robin Hood Padilla, is seeking the floor to deliver a manifestation, Mr. President. May he be recognized.
Senator Padilla is recognized.
Maraming salamat po, Ginoong Pangulo, at sa ating pong pinunong mayorya. Ito po ay point of inquiry lamang. Meron lamang po akong sanang gustong idulog sa kapulungan upang mabigyan po ng kaliwanagan. Ito po ay bunsod ng mga resolusyon na inihain ng inyong abang lingkod upang talakayin sa ilalim ng komiting aking pinamumunuan ang Public Information and Mass Media. Meron po akong serye ng mga resolusyon na nagmumungkahi po ng mga pagdinig patungkol sa mga mahalagang issue na sa aking paniniwala ay dapat nagkakaroon ng malawakang talakayan at information dissemination para sa ating mga kababayan. Ngunit sa kasamaang palad po, hindi po ito nare-refer sa Public Information and Mass Media o di kaya ay nagiging secondary committee lamang po ang sa amin. Hayaan po ninyong basahin ko ang Section 28, Rule 10 ng Rules of the Senate. Ito po ang jurisdiksyon ng committee. All matters relating to public information, mass communication, and broadcast services, the implementation of the provision of the Constitution regarding ownership and management of mass media and the advertising industry, the development and promotion of information technology, and all matters relating to the artistic standards and quality of the motion picture and television industry. Nais ko pong mabigyan linaw kung ano ang definisyon at limitasyon ng public information sa konteksto po ng mandato ng Committee on Public Information and Mass Media. Batid naman po natin ang napakahalagang papel ng pampublikong impormasyon pagdating sa pagtataguyod ng mabuting pamamahala o good governance. Critical po sa ating pamumuno na siguruhing nararamdaman ng ating mga kababayan ang mga programa at proyekto ng gobyerno tungkol sa mga importanteng paksa. Ngunit, paano po nila ito mararamdaman kung una pa lamang ay hindi naman nila naiintindihan ang ating mga ginagawa? Dahil po sa hindi malinaw na definisyon ng public information, nais ko po sanang maghain ng kaukulang amyenda sa tamang panahon tungkol sa jurisdiction ng Committee on Public Information and Mass Media. Yun lamang po, Ginoong Pangulo. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat, Senador Padilla. The Majority Leader wants to respond?
Thank you, Mr. President. The manifestation of Senator Padilla will be referred to the Committee on Rules
Yes.
as appropriate. Mr. President,
If I may add, sa pagkakalam ko po, Senator Padilla, sa pagkakausap ko rito sa ating Secretariat, yung mga iba po yung panukalang batas na inahin, katulad nung meron yata pinag-usapan tungkol sa balikatan, ay nararapat lang yata na i-refer sa pangunahing komite ng Committee on National Defense. At secondary committee lang po ang inyong komite, yung Committee on Public Information. Gayon din ang mga patungkol sa climate change, ang pangunahing komite po ay ang Environment and Natural Resources. Ang pangalawang secondary committee po, yung inyong komite, yung Committee on Public Information. Yan po ay sinasabi po ng ating Secretariat.
Opo, mahal na Ginoong Pangulo, yun nga po yung gusto po nating liwanagin. Kaya nga po tayo ay humihingi po ng pag-amyenda sapagkat nakikita po natin, mahal na Ginoong Pangulo, na sa panahon po ngayon, mas marami na pong fake news. Natatalo na po ng fake news ang mga tunay na dapat ay ibinabalita at ipinararating ng gobyerno sa taong bayan. Katulad po nung isang beses, narinig po natin ang ating kasama na si Senator J.B. Ejercito, sinabi din po niya na yung patungkol po sa Universal Health Law na hindi din po alam ng taong bayan ang patungkol dito. Nakakalungkot po yun, mahal na Ginoong Pangulo, na hindi po natin bibigyan ng bagong jurisdiction ang ating pong public information sapagkat sa ngayon po, mahal na Pangulo, umaasa na lang po ang taong bayan sa kung sino-sinong mga vlogger na nagsasalita sa social media, yun na po ang kanilang pinaniniwalaan. Ang hinihingi lang po natin, mahal na Ginoong Pangulo, na magkaroon po ng talakayan patungkol po dito sa mandato ng ating pong komite ng public information. Yun lamang po, Ginoong Pangulo, marami pong salamat po.
Maraming salamat po, Senator Padilla.
Mr. President, if I may, Mr. President.
Senator Villanueva.
Just a very short manifestation and in connection to the statements made by our distinguished colleague, I think it's about time, Mr. President, that we look into all this proliferation of fake news. I remember last Congress, we filed a bill regarding anti-fake news bill, and I think it is important to note na kung ang impormasyon ay mali, mapatunayang mali, ngunit ang intensyon ay tama, Mr. President, madali mo ma-justify. But if it is clearly, Mr. President, trying or spreading lies, coming up with a totally absurd, ridiculous information, then dapat magkaroon ng pananagutan ang mga ito. Because, Mr. President, I commiserate with our colleague kasi I think lahat naman ho tayo na natatamaan ng mga kung sino-sinong vloggers or media outfits. Yung iba nga po, kahit mainstream, Mr. President, kahit mainstream, hindi naman natin sasabihin lahat, laging katotohanan yung kanilang sinasabi. But I'm just concerned, Mr. President, doon sa pananagutan, yung word na pananagutan. Kasi, for example, Mr. President, can you imagine a media outlet that would say, for example, Mr. President, natalo yung UST sa UAAP, kasalanan ni Joel Villanueva. But that's the headline, Mr. President. Bigyan ka ng mas malalim na topic, Mr. President, or I'm sorry for the word, mas bastos, Mr. President, para lang mag-clickbait, kunyari, Mr. President, and walang pananagutan, Mr. President. Zero accountability. I'm not even sure, Mr. President, if the kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas can actually do something about it, or are they actually doing its part to regulate, Mr. President, or at least have that oversight function, Mr. President. So I feel, Mr. President, that this is important considering na yung fake news, lalong-lalo na, ay laganap sa ating bayan. Just to put that on record, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator Villanueva.
Apo, Ginoong Pangulo, bilang panghuli lamang po, gusto ko lamang pong ipaliwanag muli na malinaw po sa ating konstitusyon, dito po sa Section 7, ito po ang sinasabi dito, the right of the people to information on matters of public concern shall be recognized. Access to official records and to documents and papers pertaining to official acts. Ginoong Pangulo, kapag tayo po ang nagpapatawag ng hearing dito po sa Committee on Public Information, nakakalungkot po. Ang lagi pong sinasagot sa amin ng mga taga-gobyerno, hindi, nag-hearing na kami doon sa isang committee, hindi na kami pupunta dyan. Yun po ang nakakalungkot, Ginoong Pangulo. Gusto ko lamang pong ipaalala muli sa lahat na wala pong pinakamataas na batas kundi ang konstitusyon. At ang konstitusyon po, sinasabi, maliwanag ang kapangyarihan ng public information. Yun lamang po. Maraming salamat po uli, Ginoong
Thank you,
Pangulo.
Senator Padilla. And Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I move that we resume consideration of Senate Bill number 2555 under Committee Report number 191. This is the bill amending the Motorcycle Crime Prevention Act. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
The parliamentary status of the measure, Mr. President, is that we have closed the period of committee amendments, and with the consent of the body, I move to open the period of individual amendments, and that I may be recognized as well, Mr. President.
Mr. President,
Yes, Senator Padilla is
Sir,
recognized.
meron lang po akong gustong itanong sa atin pong madyo. Mr. President, kanino po natin to i-refer? Opo.
Mr. President, to the Committee on Rules, taking into consideration the previous manifestation by the Senate President Pro Temp that the Committee on Justice, Committee on Defense, be likewise be given the opportunity to take part in the committee hearings as the primary committee, if I'm not mistaken, Mr. President.
Yes, you are correct. Senator Padilla.
Hindi po ba pag-uusapan muna yung amenda natin na madyo? Ginoong Pangulo, hindi po ba natin pag-uusapan muna ito sa Committee on Rules para kung aamendahan natin yung ating Pwede po mag-request po ng 1-minute suspension lang.
Session suspended for a minute.